Dear viewers, the show will begin in 2 minutes. The show will begin in 1 minute. The show is about to begin. Grab a drink, a snack, and please sit back, relax, and enjoy this show.
Please like and leave a comment, and share this video.
Welcome to live show 93. Time runs out. Coming to you from a chilly Minsk, Belarus. Said it was very cool this morning at 0.5 degrees Celsius. It's Sunday, November 3rd, 2024, and we're streaming live on Rumble and YouTube as normal. It's just after 8 p.m. here in Minsk, 5 p.m. in London because daylight savings changed, 12 noon in the eastern seaboard of the US because daylight saving has changed, and 4 a.m. if you're in down under in Sydney, Australia, and 1 a.m. in Beijing. Tonight's show is packed as I discuss time runs out for Ukraine, a conversation with Michael, a US citizen who calls Minsk his home now, some NATO and EU news, a fresh Diddy update, news from Belarus. I have also a UAP update, some sad news on how New York officials have killed a peanut, and as always we'll finish with your fan favourite segment. You don't see that in Belarus. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and share this video. It really helps us grow and reach more viewers. Now let's get on with the show.
Could be wrong. I could be right.
Has the turning point finally come? Let's delve into what October has brought us. Liberation of Russian forces of approximately 600 square kilometers in the Donbass region and another 200 in the Kursk area. Remarkably, these cities like Salvador and Gornyak were reclaimed with relatively little damage, a testament to the precision of these operations. The Ukrainian stronghold of Oldegar wasn't just broken, it was shattered. This breakthrough has pushed the front lines, which had stagnated since the spring of 2022, back by a significant 10 to 15 kilometers. The momentum of the Russian Marines and the motorized riflemen of the Eastern Military District continues to surge forward. Now let's talk about Kurakova. This city just isn't a strategic point, it's a linchpin of the Ukrainian defense in the Donetsk, boasting the largest and economically vital thermal power plant. Its capture would not only lift the long-standing siege on Donetsk, but would also open up avenues towards Zaporozhye, potentially destabilizing the Ukrainian defense lines there. The Ukrainian armed forces are not just facing setbacks, they're in a crisis. Their tactics are failing, Their operations are faltering, and the cracks in their defence are becoming chasms. The gamble in Sudars back in August, where they went all in, could very well lead to a strategic defeat of the Zelensky regime, or worse, a total collapse of the front. Now let's consider the larger picture. The support of the West, which has been a lifeline for Ukraine, is drying up. The United States, once a robust partner, has only managed to deliver a paltry 15% of promised aid this fall. And Germany? They've reached the bottom of the barrel, announcing that there's nothing left in the stock to offer. With the American elections looming, Trump's anticipated victory, who has openly favoured cutting aid to Ukraine, adds another layer of complexity. Moreover, winter is on the horizon, and Ukraine's readiness this year is alarmingly deficient compared to previous winters. The season that has historically strained Ukraine's resolve could prove even more punishing this time round. So what does this mean for Zelensky? The window for any strategic retreat or negotiation is shrinking fast. The options before him are not just limited, they're critically constrained. An exit now, while still possible, would require him to navigate through the minefield of his own making. Years of ideological propaganda, alliances with neo-Nazi elements, and the massive debts to international backers. This scenario isn't just about political survival, it's about personal survival. The narrative he's built, the promises he's made, all weigh heavily now. The path ahead for Zelensky might very well lead him not just to the end of his political career, but to a more permanent form of retirement. And I could be wrong, and I could be right. Leave your comments in the section below.
I could be right.
So tonight we're diving deep into the potential scenarios for the war in Ukraine and how it might end. A conflict that's caused devastation on both sides and continues to reshape global alliances. Since the start of Russia's special military operation, predictions have been swirling, some of them based on optimism, others cold, hard realities. Now looking back, we can see how the West's early stance played a key role. Leaders urged Ukraine not to fold under diplomatic pressure, encouraging them to fight on, banking on a victorious end. But there was an opportunity early with the Istanbul Agreement. This deal would have allowed Ukraine to lose less territory, remain neutral, and stay out of NATO. Just a small concession compared to what it's facing now. But it was Boris Johnson, this idiot, along with the US, who convinced Ukraine to walk away from the table. The justification? Russia must not win. From the moment the floodgates opened, 52 nations funneling weapons and support under NATO's umbrella, essentially giving Ukraine the means to a prolonged fight. But at what costs? Now, as Russia gains more ground and the human losses in Ukraine rise, we're hearing whispers of peace talks again from Kiev. It's like deja vu, except this time Russia's terms are even tougher, reflecting the reality on the battlefield. Just look at Zelensky. In his recent trip to the US, didn't inspire confidence. There's no approval for long-range missile strikes against Russia, and the figures like Speaker Mike Johnson refused to meet him. Even Trump dismissed him, making remarks like, Ukraine doesn't exist anymore. It's a brutal reality check for Zelensky's hope for a decisive victory. Meanwhile, Russia is on doubling down on its position with updates to its nuclear doctrine, signaling that any conventional attack supported by nuclear power will be treated as a joint assault. Medvedev, always ready with harsh words, reminded everyone that Russia could escalate at any moment. He's already hinted at new weapon technologies that could turn Kiev into what he calls a giant melted spot. So where does this leave us in terms of ending the conflict? Experts from around the world have tried to envision scenarios, so let's break down a few of these prominent ones. Scenario 1. A Russian victory. This seems to be on the path we're headed to right now. Russia's military is advancing. Even NATO's new Secretary General, Mark Rutte, has admitted that Russia is making gains. While Ukraine has managed a few morale boosts, like holding parts of the Kursk region, the reality is they're outgunned and outmanned. Barring any dramatic change, Russia looks set to make more Ukraine territory, surely but slowly. Scenario 2. A nuclear showdown. This is a nightmare scenario no one wants to talk about, but we have to acknowledge it. With NATO's involvement creeping closer, especially after hints from Poland about sending troops, Russia's updated doctrine makes it clear if NATO gets directly involved, nuclear weapons are not off the table. Medvedev even made it clear NATO soldiers in Ukraine would be treated as enemies and response could be nuclear. Scenario 3, a negotiated settlement. There's talk about a potential ceasefire, but experts are skeptical. Any deal would likely be forced by international powers or circumstances, but how long would it last is anyone's guess, and would Ukraine agree to terms that legitimize Russia's territorial gains? That's doubtful, especially considering the NATO stance has been taken so far. Now, let's not forget these predictions come from the same pool of experts who once pushed for military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, thinking they could control and democratize those regions. And we all know how that turned out. Millions of deaths, decades of suffering, and no real resolution. In Ukraine, we see the same lack of in-depth understanding. They underestimate Russia's resilience, and their open-ended predictions offer little terms of actionable insight. So what's the most likely outcome? For the facts speak for themselves. Russia is advancing, and the idea of defending a nuclear power like Russia, or defeating a nuclear power like Russia, is not just unlikely, it's impossible. Continuing to push for Ukraine's victory could very well lead to a nuclear escalation that no one wants, but everyone fears. We're in a situation where NATO's involvement, long-range missile strikes, and the very real threat of nuclear conflict loom large. Russia's leadership knows what's at stake, and they're prepared for any scenario. At the United Nations, the Russian representative stated that President Zelensky is growing increasingly anxious, fearing betrayal and even attempting blackmail with the world with nuclear threats. The representative argued that without NATO directly entering the conflict against a nuclear power, a scenario Zelensky reported desires, the Ukraine armed forces stands little chance. He also urged Western nations to acknowledge that the strategy of the Ukrainians to confront Russia has failed, stating, "There will be no repeat of the Minsk agreements."
Blatant military adventures like in the Kursk region, where at first the fighting, the Sioux has already lost more than 25,000 people, and from its most prepared reserves. They are unable to devise any effective plans due to fear, and as a result, the catastrophic situation for VSO remains unchanged in both Kyiv and Washington, as well as in London and Brussels. Obviously, without direct intervention to the West, war with the nuclear power Chetok passionately wants the expired Ukrainian president. Ukrainian troops will continue to retreat and suffer catastrophic losses. It is not meaningless to point out information from the front, where the Russian armed forces are successful and fiercely conducting an offensive campaign in key areas.
He also urged Western nations to acknowledge that the strategy of using Ukraine to confront Russia has failed, stating, "There will be no repeat of the Minsk agreements or freeze to allow the Zelensky regime to regroup, nor will there be any form of Ukraine's entry into NATO." He reaffirmed that the objectives of Russia's special military operation, including demilitarization and denazification, remain unchanged. What is changing, he added, is the shrinking size of the territory under the Kiev's regime's control. Let's watch him.
In the scenario with the Minsk agreements, there will be no freezing of the front so that the Zelensky regime can crawl wounds, just as there will be no accession of Ukraine in one form or another to NATO. All the goals of our words, including the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, remain in force, unchanged. But what is changing, and rapidly, is the size of the territory remaining under the control of the Kiev regime. I advise everyone who cares for their Ukrainian accomplices not to forget about this and not to think about the Zelensky clique about the Ukrainian people. Long-term interests, which consist in the world of good neighborliness with Russia, so far our Western colleagues are not doing well. Thanks for the costume.
And Germany has been reaching its limits of its available weaponry to send to Ukraine. There's always constraints, not necessarily financial, but due to the availability of weapons, stated German spokesman Heberest. I butchered that one. And Zelensky expresses frustration, stating Poland has not delivered the MiG fighter jets to Ukraine as previously agreed.
Дуже хотіли отримати міги від Польщі, але вони нам не могли передати ці міги, тому що у них не вистачало своїх. Тому ми домовились з НАТО, що вони їм виділять поліцейську місію. Тобто як у країн у наших балтійських друзів. У них немає своїх літаків, у них є така місія, яка захищає їх небо. Ми домовились про це. І що після цього? Чи передала нам Польща літаки? Ні. Знайшла інша причина? Знайшлась. Так.
According to the New York Times, citing Pentagon sources, Ukraine's soldier reserves could sustain combat for another 6 months, maybe 12. The Pentagon estimates Ukraine has enough forces to continue fighting for this period, an official stated, adding that beyond that, the country will face a critical shortage of personnel. And the Hungarian foreign minister has declined to include the provision, or saying Hungary has declined to include the provision supporting Ukraine's NATO membership in its cooperation agreement with Kiev. He explained that the Budapest remains firmly convinced that Ukraine's accession to NATO would be equivalent to triggering a Third World War. Ukraine's partners, as Zelensky refers to them, are beginning to realise that the funds may have been misspent. Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski recently expressed regret over Poland's previous provision of free military aid to Kiev. He said, "Our government has just made a new proposal to Kiev. This time it's a military loan. This could have been the approach from the start. Buy Polish weapons on the credit from Polish factories, and once you're able, pay it." And from the BBC, they say the setbacks faced by Ukrainian armed forces on the battlefield are prompting Western nations to reconsider ongoing support for Ukraine. The BBC suggests that Ukraine's chances of reclaiming its 1991 borders are diminishing. They're over, leading to increasing debate in the West over the wisdom of continuing arms shipments. Additionally, a potential victory for Republican candidate Donald Trump in the upcoming US election could result in a reduced aid to Kiev, with the new administration possibly urging Ukraine authorities to concede some of its territories in exchange for peace. BBC reporters spoke with residents in Ukraine-controlled areas of Donbass, many of whom expressed hope for a Trump victory and a swift resolution to the conflict. The report highlights that the town like Pogorsk, a common sentiment is that the Ukraine's leadership missed an opportunity to pursue negotiating peace in early 2023. And finally, the BBC states the bleeding obvious. Ukraine should have pursued a peace deal at the beginning of the conflict. But let's be clear, BBC. Ukraine did attempt peace talks early on. It was actually former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson who intervened to halt those efforts. Polish MEP in the EU, Braun, stated, "Does Europe deserve to be blackmailed? Are we prepared to send people of Europe into the conflict with Russia? And now China? I want no such part in a war." He further emphasized that Europe is no longer in the hands of Europeans. Instead, it operates entirely under the influence of the United States.
So, the majority of this House is persistently trying to take European nations to war with Russia, as we could observe in previous weeks. Now you are taking us to war with China. Does Europe deserve to be a proxy in some Anglo-Saxon, American, Jewish wars fought all over the world? Do European nations deserve to be blackmailed and be held hostages of foreign affairs of foreign empires? No, they don't. I don't want to go to this war. Let's stabilize the situation. Let's not bring more tension where there is enough. Let's remember that China, by its mere existence, had saved Europe at least twice in the 20th century from aggressive policy of the Soviet Union. The mere existence of China, also communist country, saved us a lot of trouble.
I beg you to keep the time. It's 1 minute speaking time for Catch the Eye, and now you are nearly 30 seconds over. So sorry.
So is NATO set to intercept Russian missile drones targeting Odessa? Romania's defence minister has proposed a bill allowing its air defences to intercept UAVs and aircraft in Romanian airspace, previously only allowed under martial law. This move follows repeated claims of Russian drones straying over Romania's borders amid Black Sea tensions and intensified drone use. If passed, the bill would empower NATO-deployed systems in Romania to respond under NATO and EU defence agreements, allowing the interception of Russian missiles and UAVs. Romania's defences have recently been bolstered by NATO assets, including France's SAMP-T systems, Spain's TPS-43 radar, and NATO's AWAC planes. Romania also operates Patriot batteries and F-16s, with additional F-35s approved. This bill may lead to more air defence systems in Romania, raising the potential of direct NATO involvement in the region's escalating conflict. Political scientist Vladimir Kornilov highlighted a recent piece from the Daily Mail that asks, what if Putin presses the button and launches missiles at London? They even picked a date for this imaginary strike, January 20th, 2025. Not much time according to the article. The newspaper outlines an eerie timeline. At 7:30 a.m, Putin allegedly gives the order, and by 8:08 a.m, the first warheads explode in Trafalgar Square. One amusing detail in their scenario includes that the British Defence Minister opening a bottle of single malt whiskey in a bunker. Why single malt? One wonders. Will it be blended to be saved for day 2? The article ends with a haunting vision of February 3rd, 2025. Scientists are unsure when or if London will ever be habitable again. One certainty remains. This once great city, founded by the Romans, is now a grim monument to humanity's darkest day. Dramatic dates and descriptions aside, maybe there's a lesson here. Perhaps considering the very real threats of nuclear conflict could prompt leaders to think twice before pushing the world closer to it. But as for the British Defence Minister, well, it seems he's already uncorked his whiskey. German Economy Minister Habeck has now kept the economy in a recession trap for 2 consecutive years. Family businesses are often seen as pillars of stability, and Germany's economy are facing unprecedented pessimism, even greater than during the pandemic. A recent survey conducted by the family entrepreneurs and the young entrepreneurs reveals that half these companies view the unpredictability of the economy and financial policies as a significant barrier to investment. Additionally, 60% of excess bureaucracy as a major threat, and 49% are now considering pulling their investments out of Germany entirely. The primary issue, according to respondents, lies with Scholz's government and its approach to economic policy, as coalition members continue to propose measures to address economic challenges without clear, coordinated strategies. Further underscoring the bleak outlook, the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry reports that 0.02% economy contraction is expected this year, with no growth anticipated for 2025. And Bild challenges the official Nord Stream 2 explosion narrative as the German prosecutor's office issues warrants implicating Ukrainian divers in the Nord Stream 2 sabotage. Yes, true. Bild counters with a detailed analysis from underwater archaeologist Sven Thomas, debunking the idea that divers from a yacht Andromeda were responsible. Key points from Thomas's analysis include: 1. Andromeda is simply too small, unstable, and unequipped for this operation. It lacks cranes and necessary equipment to manage and deploy the amount of explosive used. 2. The dive and the placement of the explosive would require a minimum of 2.5 hours, and the crew would have been exposed to 40 km/h winds and waves up to 3 meters during this time. 3. The divers would have needed at least 4 tons of specialized gear, including cumbersome diving suits and oxygen tanks, which would have severely limited maneuverability. Thomas concludes that Andromeda alone couldn't have carried out this mission. The operation would have required at least 2 distinct teams with entirely different equipment and techniques. So who would have been named the saboteur? So who will be named the new saboteur? Number 1. We all know who.
However, there are much more weighty arguments against it. In particular, it is known that an explosive charge was attached directly next to the pipelines, which can only be lowered directly from above from the boat. This means that the Andromeda must be able to maintain an exact position for a long time in the middle of the Baltic Sea. This is usually only possible with 3 or 4 anchors, which is a very elaborate procedure. And if we look at the list of equipment, then we can see that the Andromeda only had a downright tiny anchor, which weighed 25 kilos and was 100 meters long, should have been 500 meters long. So it's actually extremely tight on this boat. The volume is specified exactly, which is about 15 cubic meters, i.e. a tube 5 meters long, 2 meters high. You can stand 1 meter 50 wide. That's all there is on this ship in terms of space. There, the complete crew has to go in, their food has to go in, and there also the complete diving technology has to fit in. Actually worked at the bottom with 20 minutes, and that is a time that the diver absolutely needs. He arrives there. He has to check his equipment, he has to find the line in complete darkness, and then he is supposed to transport an explosive charge there. That 20 minutes is extremely short, but it means that the total dive lasts 2.5 hours. Yes, that is the shortest possible time conceivable for such a diving mission.
And that's essentially the bare minimum required. Given this application weighs approximately 4 tons, it's impractical to carry that on the boat piece by piece with bags, right?
No, so most certainly the boat had to be loaded with trucks and maybe even cranes or pallet trucks. There is no other way to do this equipment. You have to take into account that waves on the water are created by wind, and this implies that for a wave of this magnitude to form over 2 days, strong winds must have already blown. Evidently, for this operation, even in lower waves, the crew had to contend with wind speeds of at least 20 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching up to 40 kilometers per hour, which is undoubtedly challenging.
And you say, may have been many things, but 4 explosions by Andromeda may not be that.
I would consider it completely excluded, especially in the north with these heavy explosions. This is simply not possible with Andromeda.
Okay, tonight in the studio we have Michael from the USA who now lives in Minsk, and so let's hear why he has decided to call Minsk his home. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Why have you called Minsk your home? And where are you from?
Well, originally my family is from...
Can you put that a bit closer? No, just move it to you.
Originally my family is from San Francisco. We moved out to Iowa when I was a kid, after it started to get all liberal-ish in the early 2000s. And then I ended up joining the military after that and went to go see the rest of the world, and just decided everything that the USA is involved with is a little fucked. So probably best to get away from that.
Okay. How long have you been in Minsk or Belarus?
Almost a year. I've been here since February of 24.
Okay, what do you like about it?
Well, everything here is very clean, very orderly, very safe. You don't have any weird stuff going on. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a homeless man piss on the train system here, so...
I haven't seen any homeless people at all.
I've seen a couple, but I think they choose to do that. I've seen a lot of gypsies, but I think that's just a Europe problem. So.
Mm-hmm. And hang on, I'm just doing something. And why? How long do you think you're going to be living here?
Oh, I'm staying here forever. It's never leaving this place ever again if I have to.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. And I don't know. Tell us what else about this place you like.
Well,
compared to the West.
The food is delicious. Compared to America, you can pretty much eat anything you want here, and I eat a lot of food here. And in America, the food was making me start to feel pretty sick. I was starting to get really fat. I didn't feel very good. I was having a lot of health issues. And here, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. It's a lot better.
Sorry about that. I had to go and do something. Turn your light on. Yeah, cool. And I've got hockey tickets next week. Are you coming?
Oh, of course. I love hockey. And here, you can get a hockey ticket for up in the nosebleeds for, what was it last time? $3 or $4?
Yeah, so. 12 rubles. Yeah, that's all it was.
And I've gotten Ice Side hockey playoff tickets. I got them for me and a girl, and I think total it was less than $50, and it was fucking awesome. Those KHL guys, those guys know how to play.
Yeah, we got tickets for the next 3 games just behind the sin bins.
Right, and I'm excited for that. It's just we can't chirp at them because they don't know what we're saying.
Yeah. And are you going to come on election night here?
I'm going to try to. After I was in the army, I broke my face, so I stopped breathing while I'm sleeping. So I have to sleep with one of those stupid CPAP machines, and it can get pretty annoying. Like I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning today for no reason, and then I stayed awake until 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I slept for like another hour and a half, and now I'm just awake today. So it's a little difficult to do stuff when you don't sleep. It's a pro tip right there.
You know any other Westerners here?
Yeah, I know Andrew. You said he's been here before.
Yeah, Andrew's been on the show.
Yeah, and then let's see. We got my Belarusian citizen. He was born here, grew up in Boston. He is currently in London on his way to here. So he might come on the show. I told him about it. So we'll see what he says.
Okay, cool. Any other nationalities you know here?
I know a German guy, a French guy, and then I just know a lot of Belarusian people. So.
Well, that's because they live here.
Well, yeah, it's it's one of the pros of living in Belarus. You meet Belarusians.
Yeah. What do you think of the ladies here?
They're nice, but they're a little difficult, aren't they?
Well, mine isn't.
Well, I think yours is in a different age bracket. I'm 29 years old, so obviously any self-respecting man is going to want a woman that is the same age or younger than him. It seems that the ladies here that are older than me are very nice and very down to earth. However, I think that the younger women spend a little too much time on the internet, and nobody likes that.
Well, you can give us one stupid story.
Well, how about I tell you about I went into Europe last month, and so the only way that I can leave here, because I don't have a EU passport, you do the same thing. You have to go to Vilnius, Lithuania, and then so you have to take a bus to there. And then I decided, well, I've always wanted to ride the bullet train through Europe, so I flew to Frankfurt, and then turns out I was at the wrong Frankfurt airport, so then I had to take a bus to the other Frankfurt airport. I did, and it was like 2 hours away, so I don't know how they're both Frankfurt. I don't know anything about how fucking Germany works.
I suppose one would be international and one would be domestic.
No, that wasn't even it. It was like Frankfurt Hahn and Frankfurt Main. And I don't understand how they can both be Frankfurt but so far apart. Thought Frankfurt was a city. Maybe it's a state or a province or whatever. But well, that's how much they teach Americans about Europe. I have no fucking idea. And so I went there, and then I got on the bullet train, and I immediately noticed there's a lot of Chinese people on the train, a lot of Turkish people. I decided to splurge, and I got the first class ticket because I saw that you can order food and beer to your seat, and you get like extra leg room and blah blah blah. It was like a 4-hour train, and this is the bullet train. So because I went all the way from Frankfurt to Berlin, and the first thing that I noticed was on the food menu, there's no fucking German food, and so I'm scrolling through it, and I see like currywurst. I guess they invented it in Berlin by combining bratwurst with curry. I don't know whose fucking idea that was, but it sounds disgusting. And then, well, so I ended up ordering, some Weissbier, and then this, like, Indian guy comes and like, he's all dressed up super nice, like a train conductor, train waiter, butler, or whatever, comes and pours me my drink. And at this point, I'm starting to look around, and I'm just kind of wondering what's going on, because I came to Germany to come see German people, German stuff, and I'm starting to get really disappointed. And so I leaned over and I talked to one of the German ladies that I had helped put their bag up on the rack, and I asked her, I was like, hey, where's the German food? Why isn't there any German food on the menu? And she just starts laughing at me. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like I came here to Germany, like I want some bratwurst or fucking schnitzel and she's just laughing harder, and some of the other German people around us are starting to hear what I'm saying, and they start laughing at me, and then they all just say, well, we try to be international now. And there was something about the way that they said it. It was like they weren't allowed to say what they really wanted to say. Mm-hmm. So they said it like that. And then once I got to Berlin Station, it was like a fucking zoo. I mean, this place was huge, massive. And once I get there, it's got like a really big like glass cover on it, and it's a huge mall, and there's probably like 3 or 4 different floors, and there's thousands of people inside of this place. And I'm barely seeing any German people. It's all Arabs and Turks and Africans and Chinese. And so I'm looking around, and even all the shops look weird. Like they're all shawarma or kebab, or there's no German anything, except for the only thing that I saw was like a bakery that had like bread and stuff. And
that's probably being racist.
Well,
I mean, German stuff in Germany is probably racist.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna say I can be pretty racist sometimes, but is that? but here it's just you don't see any German stuff, and so I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed with everything that I'm seeing. I'm a little disappointed, and I'm like, well, I'm waiting for my friend Alexander from Mogilev. He's been working in Germany. So I came there to go meet him. He wanted to go see all of the Russian monuments that are in Berlin, which I'll tell you about some other time. We went and we saw them. They were pretty cool.
Yeah, we went and had a look when we went there.
Yeah, it was badass, right? And well, so I'm like, well, I need a cigarette. I'm freaking out about how disappointed I am with my trip. And so I walk outside to go smoke a cigarette, and the first fucking thing I see, there's some homeless guy on the other side of like the taxi stand road, and he's not wearing any fucking shoes. He's dirty as shit. His pants are all torn up. His shirt's all torn the fuck up. It's kind of cold outside, and I don't know how the fuck he's walking around. He's not even wearing socks. Like you would think his feet would be freezing off. And he's just like screaming. And he's like next to a bike rack, and he's like shaking the bike rack and stuff. And he's like screaming at people and getting close to them. And there's like a bunch of cops outside, and they're just all kind of like, people are like smoking cigarettes. They're just kind of staring at it, and the cops aren't doing anything. Nobody even says anything to them. They're just walking around them. And it was really fucking weird. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, maybe in like a video of New York or something, but I thought, somebody would do something about this guy. And this guy was obviously German. That was the weirdest part about it, too. And then I noticed that while I'm smoking a cigarette, some old lady asked me for change. Well, it was a gypsy. And then I noticed that there's about 20 more of them out there. And then everybody else, that's smoking cigarettes, well, I decided I'm going to go try and find a German guy to talk to, and I'm going to ask him what the fuck is going on here. And so while I'm trying to do that, about 4 different ambulances show up, and then you see all the paramedics run straight the fuck into the building. So then I find this German guy out at the smoke pit, and I'm asking him, what the fuck is going on here. And basically he's giving me the rundown, just there's a lot of Turkish and Arabs and stuff that are moving in, and Berlin is an international city. It's only like 30% German, and what you're seeing here is normal, and this happens every day. And that was basically what he said, because I asked him, like, where do I get some fucking German food? He's like, you can't find any. And I asked him, well, then where's the bar? I want to get some German beer. He's like, well, they're not around the train station. Like, you're going to have to go somewhere else. And so at this point, I'm really just wondering where the fuck I am. And then I see the paramedic people, they come back out, and they've got all of these guys on stretchers, and they're all passed the fuck out. Like they must have been doing, like, fucking heroin or fentanyl or something. Like, they're all just passed the fuck out. And so then my Belarusian friend shows up, and we ended up leaving the train station. And on our way to the hotel, I saw that there's a bunch more homeless people, Turks, garbage everywhere. And yeah, I mean, it was just like I just showed up and just immediately saw that it's just a fucking shithole. It's completely destroyed. When I tell you about the monuments and stuff, I mean, like, people were outside, you know, like, drinking and smoking and, like, in the monuments and just, like, tossing garbage and shit everywhere. Like, it was just awful. I don't understand how that city's going to keep going. It's fucked.
Yeah, we went to the monuments 2016. It was very nice and clean. I'm sure it's changed now.
Yeah, no, it was, did you go to, like, where the rectangular blocks are made for the
Holocaust?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I was there, there was a bunch of Turks and Arabs and stuff, and they're all fucking drinking and smoking cigarettes, and there's kids running around and screaming inside of there, and there's people, like, climbing on the blocks and stuff, and there's signs posted outside of the place that literally say, like, no drinking, no smoking, don't walk. Don't walk quickly. You have to walk slowly. Don't make any noise. Don't scream. You're only allowed to whisper. And I mean, these people are just, like, having a fucking party in there. And there's police all around the outside of it, and same thing. They're just fucking staring. Like they're not doing anything about it. It's fucking weird. Like, what's the point in having rules if you're not going to fucking enforce them? Because if you enforce them, you're being racist. Well, they should probably be a little more racist, but I guess that's what happened the first time with that one guy. Maybe. I've been reading some more things about that guy, and some of the things we were told are not correct. Well, if you want to get into the wooden doors conversation, at some point. That one, I know that one. Yeah. I always just say logistics. Hey? Well, there's also that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that. Once you start to look at it, I mean, the thing is unless you see something with your own eyes, you don't really know if that's what happened or not, even if you trust the person, because people always change stuff in their head, let alone when people change stuff intentionally, which, well, I remember reading about how after the Russians and the Americans came through the camps that some of the structures were put up after the camp was liberated to make it look like something else. So it's interesting. Well, I just history is always written by the victors, as they say. I think it's interesting that Jewish people are claimed to be less than 1% of the world, and yet everybody that I know in America that has anything to do with anything, well, they're always Jewish. So there's a lot more of them than what they claim. There you go. Heard that on here first. Or maybe not first. Normally what we do is when we're talking, and if there's a subject coming up that's not YouTube friendly, like say COVID, right? I'm allowed to say that. If we're going to talk about that, then we just cut the stream on YouTube and just stay on Rumble. Interesting. So all the shows are always on Rumble, but some of the shows are cut shorter on YouTube. And Rumble, I don't know much about it. Is that a newer platform? Yes, I think it's 4 or 5 years old. They were in Canada, they moved to Florida, and they're there now, and they're a sort of a free speech platform. So, as long as you're not inciting riots, death, all those sort of things, you can say what you want. I guess that's kind of like instead of Twitch, they have that Kickstream website. Yeah. Rumble's banned in France now. Really? Yeah, because it's free speech, they can't control it. Well, I mean, I guess that means you're doing something right. Yeah, and it's growing. The interface is getting better and better as time goes on. It's just, it's so
They've got their own cloud system, so they can't be taken offline.
Well, and I don't understand why France is doing all that stuff now, because a lot of the stuff that we took for making America with the Constitution and our system of government and everything, especially the free speech stuff, that was all taken from France's ideas back in the day. And I don't understand why they've changed into this.
Yeah, but you can say why they're trying to change stuff in the States as well.
Right.
Same thing.
Well, but I mean, the thing is that you've seen that...
You know, in the States it would have been changed by now if they could, if it wasn't in the Constitution.
Right. Well, you see in France, they're good at pitching a fit, though. Like there's always riots and... But, man, it's... whenever I've talked to French people before, they said that basically Paris just runs all of France and everybody else is just getting fucked. They said that if you go into rural France, that it's still French, but who knows?
Yeah, I went. I was there last year, February. I went there to cover one of the protests.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
It's interesting. I took a gas mask and I took a helmet. And
did they do the shitty tractors or?
No. This was just a bunch of people, and they were just. As we were walking the streets, they were just smashing everything.
Okay.
And I was filming it, and they looked at me and said, "You can't film us." So I just walked to the other side of the road.
Oh.
They weren't very happy I was filming them smashing bus stops and smashing everything else.
But it looks so cool.
Yeah. So I was. It was an interesting thing. I took the train from London, and just to cover that.
Well, It's weird though, because France used to be, like I said, pretty close to what the American government was at one point. I mean, I'm sure you know that Statue of Liberty was a gift. There's a smaller version, and
in Paris on the River Seine.
So I don't know. It's weird to watch. If they're going down the tubes, then probably America's not too far behind. And they've tried to get really aggressive with it. You just said they banned Rumble. They tried to get a backdoor into Telegram with what's his fucking name again?
Pavril.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily he just told him to fuck off. He's not a sellout. So obviously, originally he was Russian. He's a Russian Jew, though, right?
Don't know. The story is he started VK, which is like the Russian Facebook. And then
I didn't know he started VK.
Him and his brother started VK, and then the Russian government wanted him to do some censoring and backdoor there, and he said no. So they forced a sale on him. He got market rates. He didn't get ripped off, right? So they got like 700 million or something for it. So they got a good money amount, and then he left and went to Dubai and started Telegram.
Okay, because I also read that he has citizenship in Dubai, Israel, and somewhere else. France. Does he have it in any other country?
Yes, Caribbean country. I'm not sure which one.
That's interesting.
Maybe it's St. Kitts, I think. One of those.
Well, it's weird to see... Again, It also says that I'm seeing here he was born in 1984 in the Soviet Union, but moved to Italy when he was 4.
Yeah, they're European educated.
The Iranian parliament member said that Pavel Durov is Jewish and considers him his brother and a friend of Israel. Netanyahu, I don't know who that is, considers him as his brother and a friend of Israel. So he is Jewish. So I mean, that's it's odd. Everything that you look into that's tech and huge is is Rumble Jewish?
No. There you go. That's the one in Paris.
Hey, see, you can't even tell the difference. It's the same thing. It's just smaller.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I'll do full screen so people can see it. So this is on the river. There you go.
You know how I first learned that was there?
We're in Paris.
The first time that I learned that they had the identical statue, National Treasure, the movie.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a very educational movie, believe it or not.
Yeah. Teach the Americans some things.
Well, did you know they're working on a third one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be badass. I fucking love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. After he had those financial problems, he started just doing any movie, and some of them were really, really bad.
Yeah, but some of them, because they're so bad, they're actually really good.
Oh.
Like that movie where he was a vampire.
Yeah.
And it had that kid that played in the UK version of Skins. And I really liked that show. I'm trying to remember the name of his character on there, but his character was a fucking asshole. But yeah, no, I mean, I've always really liked him. I mean, even his bad movies like Face Off. I heard that they're gonna make a new Face Off too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they're going back and they're making some of his shitty ones again. Who's the other guy that was in Face Off? Who's the guy he traded faces with?
John Travolta.
Yeah.
So there it is. It's on a plinth at the end of the. There's a little island inside the Seine River. There's a bridge goes across and you just walk down, and then that's on the end of the little island there.
Well, I think it was in National Treasure 2 was when they showed this, and actually that was the first time that I think I remember seeing a drone in a movie off the top of my head. Was when they used a drone camera to read the inscription on the parchment that she has in her hand. I think they changed it for the movie, but
yeah,
it's still really cool.
Yeah,
it's like a Lara Croft, but with Nicolas Cage.
Exactly. Because the Eiffel Tower, when I went there, and it was completely different. When I went this April last year, there's a 9-foot fence right around it this time, and security, and just lots of people sleeping on the streets, and just not the same city anymore.
Well, I know that there used to be like a big grass section under it where people would just lay down, put out a picnic or whatever.
At one end is the grass section, and that was roped off for some reason. And then underneath it, you can't get underneath it now unless you go through the fence and the security and all that now. That's it.
Huh.
And it's not like a normal fence, it's like a black wooden fence, you can't see in there and that. If you've got to go through turnstiles with security, metal detectors and all sorts of things.
I guess they're trying to stop somebody from blowing up the bottom of the tower.
Yep.
I wonder.
A future engineer and doctor, probably.
Right. Well, that's what I was about to say. Is I wonder who they're trying to stop from doing that. Probably the same guys that are making all those shawarma restaurants, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do you want anybody to follow you on anywhere? Telegram, YouTube?
Oh no.
No need to say anything.
Well, I mean, unless you're a hot single female lawyer, no, don't follow me. I don't like you.
Don't follow me. I don't like you. And now we have some Belarus news. A world-class drifting video is being filmed in Minsk, featuring top pilots from Japan, Australia, Netherlands, Thailand, Brazil, and Belarus. The project has quickly gone viral, as it's the first kind in the country. This upcoming promo will showcase a self-driving drift car highlighting Belarus's IT innovations. What? After shooting in Grodno, Brest, Gomel and Mogilev, it is now in Minsk's turn. The public is welcome to catch the action live, and the final video will be released in a month. Let's have a look at it.
For a few days, the streets of Minsk turned into a racetrack. The case when the roar of the motor under the windows will not interfere, but on the contrary, arouse interest. pilotless lights are genuine?
This is the development of a concept that will allow driving the car without the participation of the pilot during competition Sunday.
RIP 2. The first such competitions will be held in Saudi Arabia at the end of 25 years. And for now, they are driving around the streets of the Belarusian capital. Hundreds of pilots gathered from the very morning to see both the asphalt and local attractions behind Grodno, Brest, Gomel, and Mogilev.
Indeed, I do. This has never happened in Belarus. The people here are very polite and you are very clean. Even the leaves are removed from the roads. I liked Monderev. Your roads were very nice and very beautiful. It's a pity that I can't check the asphalt in Minsk.
Starting from May 2nd.
I have been to Belarus 2 times. Very friendly people and delicious food. It's a pity that I'm flying away. I didn't know that Drit was so popular in Belarus. Despite the language barrier, we were able to make friends with Belarusian pilots. This is a very interesting experience for me. I will definitely come to Belarus again, but with my family.
The companies are working on the development of an autonomous drift car management system based on artificial intelligence. The training takes place with the participation of world-class pilots from Belarus, Japan, Australia, the Netherlands, Thailand, and Brazil. The future promotional video will show the self-paid trip machine and will also highlight one of the country's strengths, these innovations and cultural heritage.
Select locations in various regions which will allow us not only to popularize drift, which will also allow us to show our beautiful country from a side from which many do not know it. We have already achieved our result.
While Days give out interviews, others don't give the wrong mode about those special effects. One capital site, Minsk Gate near the railway station. Within a few days of shooting, the project has already exploded the internet, because there has never been such a thing in our country.
I feel great because no one in the world has ever done this before. My dream is to last to legally fit around the city. We give foreigners the opportunity to ride our cars and see the sights of our country. They admire the beauty of our country and admire the level of our team.
The atmosphere is very cool. I never thought that there would be such a thing and the opportunity to ride right through the city, against the backdrop of such attractions. Here in Minsk in general, I am very interested to see in the future where this will all lead. I would probably like everything to work out for us.
Large-scale filming continues throughout the week. Next in line are locations, the book Komsomol Independence Avenue, Revolutionary Minsk World, as well as drift cars will be seen at the walls of the National Library of Minsk Arena and at the airport. Anyone can see the drift show, and in a month the team will present the finished material. Polina Makiev, Pavel Meshka, Minsk News Agency.
And now we've got a heartbreaking tale of a peanut. Not this one, but Peanut the squirrel. Peanut's owners recounts the tragic story of how New York officials raided his home, taking away Peanut, his beloved 7-year-old squirrel, and his raccoon Fred. Sadly, both Peanut and Fred were euthanized following anonymous complaints. They said, "They raided my house like I was a criminal," he shared. "I was forced to sit outside for hours, only allowed to use the bathroom with a police escort. I couldn't even feed my rescue horses." He recalls the intensive search, noting how officers questioned his wife's immigration status and searched every nook and cranny. They got a judge to sign a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon, and then they took them and killed them. Let's watch this.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means. He was all over TikTok. He became the first squirrel on TikTok to ever hit 1 million followers. He did every news station around the world. He's helped people. He's helped kids gather joy. And then we started a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm to help animals like Peanut fight a good fight when they're in a neglected case or they're sitting in a slaughter auction. And he was the cornerstone of our life and our organization. We used his platform to help raise money for the 300 animals we have at our sanctuary.
And a glimpse of Peanut's spirit in a bitter-sweet twist. It was reported that Peanut bit one of the investigators, a final act of defiance. Peanut went out fighting. And remembering Peanut, here's a video of Peanut interacting with Mark Longo, who found him 7 years ago, and Peanut's And of course then we get Peanut's last social media post, memories of a little squirrel who was loved so much. And of course let's not forget Fred the raccoon, who was also killed by the New York authorities. And now some UAP updates. UFO experts have recorded over 100,000 sightings of UFOs, UAPs, from 1906 to 2021, with many cases still unexplained. Check out this video to see the hotspots and where these sightings are most commonly reported. Why most in the USA? And now a Diddy update, and just a content warning: graphic allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. Sean Diddy Combs is currently facing a deeply troubling lawsuit involving serious allegations of sexual assault dating back to 2005, as we have reported in earlier live shows. Filed by attorney Tony Busby, the complaint details an incident involving a 10-year-old aspiring rapper who accompanied his parents traveling to New York City with hopes of meeting music industry executives, including Combs. The lawsuit alleges that during this meeting, the boy was drugged and assaulted in a New York hotel. Due to the sensitive nature of allegations, specific details have been omitted here, but the complaint describes highly distressing acts which have raised widespread concern. In addition, another witness, Courtney Burgess, has come forward with claims about Coombs' alleged misconduct. Speaking to News Nation, which we're about to watch, Burgess asserted that he possesses multiple flash drives reporting shows videos of Coombs and several celebrities in compromising situations with two individuals allegedly underage. Burgess, who claims to have known Coombs for 35 years, has offered to present these drives, which he says also includes a manuscript from Coombs' former partner Kim Porter detailing further alleged crimes. According to Burgess' lawyer, US Marshals have subpoenaed these flash drives as part of their ongoing investigation. Let's watch it.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to
Let
be.
me rephrase it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appear to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized.
Yeah,
meaning this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
And we're coming down to the end of the show, and of course you don't see that in Belarus. Of course, the craziness you've seen in New York City Metro and on the tube in London. Let's have a look at some Berlin Metro action.
BÖV, Berliner U-Bahn.
Over to the UK, these 2 guys, future doctors and engineers, are trying to steal a motorcycle, and the owner surprises them. Across the ocean to USA, we're in New York City as this naked man walks around the street.
Nueva York. Lo loco Nueva York. Lo loco Nueva York. La vida de Nueva York, lo loco.
Still in the US, we're in LA, and we've seen LA before. Here it is again. So a bit of looting going on. Still in the US, in Florida, the police are beating up some fans. Down to Mexico, and the cartel does a hit on 2 prison guards in this red car. The first cartel car arrives, shoots them, and then a second car comes to make sure they are dead. Seems a bit of overkill. And lastly, in Argentina, this guy tries to rob a store with a knife. And so you don't see any of that in Belarus, none of it at all. Come here, none of it. It's a nice safe place, clean. That is the end of live show number 93, only 7 to go for our 100th show, and in that show I will give away to one of our subscribers 100 in their currency. So if you're in the US, you'll get $100. If you're in the UK, £100. If you're in the EU, €100. And if you're here in Belarus or in Russia, you will get $100. All you need to do is be a subscriber on both our Rumble and YouTube channels for at least 5 shows prior to the 100th. And we'll randomly pick out one of those subscribers. We'll have to send it to you on PayPal, so make sure you have an account on there. That's the only way we can get the money to you. And I hope you are able to check out the Emotional Support Animals first episode on Friday night. If you haven't, please check it out and give it the thumbs up. Just a reminder that this Wednesday's show will not be at the normal time, as we will be in fact here streaming live from the studio at 3 a.m. our time as the US presidential election results come in, with studio guests from the USA inside obviously the studio, and virtual guests from the UK and the USA giving us their 2 cents worth. Hope you can join us for that. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And if you can hit that thumbs up on this video, it would be great. Also, please share this video link near and wide on your social media to help this channel grow. And if you haven't, please subscribe, especially if you want to win that money. Hope you liked tonight's show. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next show. Goodbye.
I see that it's wrong! It's wrong because it's like against society!